Hello everyone. Today I'd like to show you a metal drawer box system from Wurth. They call it the Pro 2000 series. And basically what it allows you to do is easily make a metal-sided drawer box in whatever width you like by making your own bottom and back. You buy the slide kit in the fixed length, which is available from maybe 400 millimeters through 550 millimeters, and on every 50 millimeters, so basically every 2 inches in popular sizes. It comes as a kit, and let me show you what is in the kit. So this particular one here is a 500 millimeter, so that's 500 millimeters of length. I believe this is a 450, and it comes with the 2 side pieces, instructions, and some accessories. Looks like it's available in 270, 300, 350, 400, 450, 500, and 550. So, you know, enough sizes to do almost any bathroom, shop, or kitchen project. So the instructions show some measurements on the width of the opening of your box, and then how to go to calculate how big your bottoms and backs need to be. Now, when you buy the kit, it is a fixed height. So the kit is what they call 86 millimeters. So it's this height here. But you can also make, for taller drawers, you can buy either a 130 millimeter or a 190 millimeter. And what these are the brackets that hold the back piece in place. So what you get in the kit are the brackets for 86 millimeters. And then to make it taller, you just have to buy those and make your top piece or your back piece taller. So what this compares to is like Bloom has what they call tandem box, and they also have a newer one called Legra box, where it's an integrated soft close, full extension slot, undermount slide. And what I like about this is that you don't have to make so many pieces. To make a drawer box, you have to make, you gotta make 5-sided box, and you gotta finish all the edges. Here, all we have to do is cut a bottom and a back and edge band the back. So this compares to Bloom's tandem box system. Now, if you go and you start looking into Bloom tandem box, which I believe is based on their tandem full extension drawer slide, if you start looking in their catalog, you realize pretty quickly that there's a ton of part numbers to, there's like 5 or 6 different side heights and things like that, and it just becomes part number soup pretty quickly. All of this stuff has to be ordered independently. So that's one thing I liked about this, is that you kind of get it in one flavor. You get it as a complete kit with everything you need in the 86 millimeter height. If you want to make it taller, you just add the brackets. So let's get into the nuts and bolts of how this goes together and show you what I know. So if you take one of the slides here, this is the front and this is the back. It's already got the drawer slide in it. So to get that out, it's just clipped in. So you kind of pop that out. And then this is what will mount in your cabinet. It's got holes in the side for either system screws, and it's kind of based on a system 32. You can use system screws, you can use number 6. I'm just using number 6 5/8 screws. And then the sides have a groove to receive your bottom material, which is set up for 16 millimeters, and we'll talk about that in a minute. And then back here is your fixing clip for putting in the back. So if you're doing the 86 millimeter, you snap that in there, and it is removable later. and it's got screws to hold your back material in. And there's screw holes to hold your bottom material in. And then at the front here on the side, and there's a trim cover to cover that, but there is a mechanism to receive this fixing bracket. Now this fixing bracket mounts to your drawer front, and it goes into 10mm holes. And I don't know if the screw in here expands it or if it's just a pressing. It's a tight fit, and 3/8 Forstner bit will not work. 3/8 is about 9.5mm. No go. Has to be 10mm. And then it has a grub screw here to adjust side to side. So that actually snaps into here when you get your drawer complete and your drawer front complete. You put that in there and you snap it in, and it's held tight to the front here. And then you have several adjustments. You've got plus 2mm, minus 2mm, and I believe there's also an in and out adjustment. And then left and right is done with this grub screw, so you could push the drawer front over one way or the other. So that to me is the perfect system, because you get the full adjustability of a undermount slide. So you can get your drawers to line up really nice, your drawer fronts to line up really nice. But it's a lot more streamlined than the tandem, the Bloom tandem box, and it's a lot less expensive. So for an example, this kit with the 500mm slide is about $28. So for $28, you get the nice quality, full extension, soft close slides, and you get the sides and the fixing. So if you just go and buy an undermount full extension slide from Bloom, you could easily spend $30 just doing that. So I also believe it gives you a little more internal volume, because you don't have to raise, if you do a traditional undermount slide like a tandem, you've got this dead space underneath your drawer that you've got to reserve for the slides to go in. So so I do think it gives you a little more room. Another accessory I'll show you here, this is what they call a gallery rail. So this is a square. They also have a round, but the round wasn't in stock when I ordered this. I probably would have preferred the round. But basically what it does is it clips into the top of your, the taller slide. Do I have this the right way? I may have the wrong one here, but the wrong side, because these are handed, but no, I got it right. There we go. So this is the back of your cabinet, the taller height cabinet, and so then this goes and provides additional support to your drawer front. So if you have a tall drawer front, you're not just supported on that height, you can also get a fixing point there. There's some little brackets that you screw on. This clips down over it. There's some adjustment there for in and out, and then this goes over that to cover it. And so the reason why this has adjustability in and out is if you, for instance, had this on you had this tall piece on the back here, your drawer front's also going to be taller. If you get a big tall drawer front and you're only fixing it across here, it may lean one way or the other. So that gallery rail lets you adjust that in and out. It's only available in this darker gray. I did find some melamine. I'm using melamine here. That's the dark gray. It's the perfect match. It's not dove gray. It was shadow gray, I believe. And then on the other side of the melamine was dove gray. So which worked out fine. This is made for 16mm bottom material. So it's roughly 5/8. I was able to get 5/8 material in that, so consider myself lucky there, because 5/8 is not a real common size here. You could also use 3/4 inch, but you'd have to kind of rabbit out a groove on the bottom of the material. And since I was able to get the 5/8, I didn't need to worry about that. They specifically say you need to use the 16mm material here, but they don't talk about the material for the back. And I think you could use 3/4 inch material here in the back. I didn't want to have to buy 2 different kinds of material, and if, I don't know if you'll be able to pick this up, but back here, there is a little room there where if this was 3/4 inch material, it would work just fine. And of course, I've got an edge banding on there. And then when I assembled these, I assembled it so that the back goes all the way down to the bottom. And then I've got these couple screws in there just to really keep the bottom and the back locked together. And then there's room for 4 number 6 screws per side. And there's, in the instructions, they have some formulas here for what to cut the height of the back and what to cut this depth to. Totally wrong. They are totally wrong. So if you do this, I would suggest you develop your own measurement from that. It's a little odd too. In the instructions, they show building it 2 different ways, even though they're only trying to show you one way. But I have chosen to make my bottom material go all the way, or go and stop at the back, like that, so that the back can go all the way to the bottom. And if you look at their measurements, you say, well, that's, you know, they've developed this height that they tell you to cut it to if this sits on top of the bottom. But even then, it's not correct either. So just develop your own measurements for that. But in one of the assembly drawings, they show it like this, with this piece going all the way to the bottom. But then in another assembly drawing, they show the bottom going all the way to the back. So their instructions are to be taken with a grain of salt. So, but it assembles quick, and they snap right in, they snap right out. So let's assemble a drawer, and I've got some pieces pre-cut here. Let's assemble a drawer, and then let's go into the tiny house, which these are going to be installed in, and I'll show you how to put the slides in and show you how to lock them in place. Okay, so I got a pile of materials here. Let's build one of these drawers. I've got 2 sets here. Let's pull out one set. So this is the bottom. This is the back. The back is 3 millimeters shorter or less wide. And I've done the edge banding on the back. And we are using the dark gray side, so it's going to go together like that. Because this is a tall drawer, we're using the extended length brackets. So the way I do these is get the bracket attached. And that just kind of clicks in there. So the 86 millimeter bracket that came with it, we just pitched that. That's not going to be used. So we've got that there. And the way I've done the dimensioning, I run these all the way down to the bottom of the track. I don't set it on top of the back. Okay, so I'm using a number 6, like a self-aligning bit. Some people call it a VIX bit. And then I'm using a 5/8 long number 6 pan head screw on the backs. As the backs are made, they're slotted so you can do some up and down adjustment. So they're not set up for a countersunk or flathead. instructions, they show assembling these first and then snapping them in. But I usually just do it like this. Because this is particle board, I don't use a screw gun to put the screws in. I just do them by hand. That way I can really tell that I'm not going to murder them. Okay. Okay, so now what we've got is that attached, and then we can slide in slide that in, and I kind of make sure I can pull that tight and square up and keep this sides pressed in. And now I switch over to a flathead screw, because that'll fit in that little recess. Here's your opportunity to check and see that it's square with the diagonal measurement. That's real good, Clark. Once you get these 4 corner screws in, it's pretty established. And I do put all 8 screws in, 4 per side. So now I do one more thing. I put a screw through here. So there you go. That's a completed drawer. You could put more screws back here if you want, but I really don't think it's necessary. And then that is ready to go in and fabricate your drawer front. Alright, so here's my cabinet box, and I need to get 1, 2, 3 slides on this. Up here, I've got a piece of tape across here because this is getting a false panel. The cooktop recesses down in here, so there's not enough room to put a drawer in there. So one slide goes at the bottom, and there's a slide here and a slide here. Along this edge, I've got some masking tape, and I've marked off my drawer where my drawers come together. And then I've come up half a panel thickness, and that's where the bottom of my slide is. That gives me enough. That gives enough clearance between the bottom of the drawer and the slide. So I've cut some panels here to use as spacers to put the slides in. I'm sure you've seen this trick. So that's where one slide is going to go. One slide is going to go here. And so essentially you just work from the top down. So that's in there nice and tight. And this one is at the right height to get my first one set up. And then this is going to be a 160 millimeter tall drawer front. And so then I've got 160 millimeter on top of that. And so that keeps my spacing nice. Get that on there. Of course, you can't ever have too many clamps. And then I've got a clamp for my drawer slide. There's the drawer slide. And I don't want to mount this, you know, obviously we don't want to mount it past the front. Well, how far back do we need to mount it? I am using a little piece of floor that I've found out is 2.5 millimeters. So that's a good amount to hold it back. So I get that in there and establish that. And then I've got a clamp here for this. Get that in there. Make sure that these are down nice. And then I use my Vicks bit again here. Because this is a small drill bit for a number 6, it gets clogged with chips, so you'll see me kind of push it in and out. Try to get those chips cleared. Putting these in with a regular screwdriver because I don't want to tear my holes up with the impact or anything. These are only number 6 screws, 5/8 long. I do have 2 thicknesses of wood here, so I could use slightly longer screws, but then I'm going to get into the screw tips on the other side. So I'm going to put 4 screws in all of these. I can get to these right now. There is a row of screws under here, but I don't know how you would get to them. You can't get to them now, and you can't get to them with it open. So if somebody knows how you get to that set of screws, please let me know. I think they said that these slides are rated for 75 pounds, I want to say. That's one difference between this and that Bloom tandem box. The Bloom tandem box, you have a selection between a regular slide and a heavy duty slide, which is I think 150 pounds or something. So now I can just take this out, save that. That's going to be the same for all of these. And get our next slide, set our spacer. Don't get too worried if this is back a little bit farther than the other one. As long as it's reasonable, it's going to be fine. These have, from right there where it's caught, it's pulling it back. So even if it's out, or excuse me, if this is back a little bit further, you're still going to have good contact with the with the drawer face to the cabinet box.
Now here at the bottom, if I didn't have this in there, that would sit down in there. So my bottom rail, piece of my scrap bottom rail material, boom. So I've already got these drawers made. All of my width measurements for the door are based on my inside cabinet width here. And you just apply the little formula and make your drawer box the right width, and they're going to fit in. So let's go grab some of those drawer boxes and I'll show you how to install them and how to remove them. Alright, so we're ready to put some drawers in here. The drawers are retained by this little groove right here. This little groove references onto this kind of hook that is up here. And then this feature right here is grabbed by these two little spring clips there, or one spring clip. So to install it, you just set it on there and you slide it backwards, and the back, the little hook will go into the feature in the back, and in the front it'll click in. So now the drawer's in. To get the drawer out, you open a little bit and you just firmly pull up, and that pulls it, that pulls that spring off of these front retainers. So very easy to put in and take out. Music to my ears. Hello fellow woodworkers, I'm going to show you one method for getting perfectly grain matched drawers. Now what I'm building here are some kitchen cabinets in a tiny house, and I'm doing kind of a modern style. So we're using a 3/4 inch Baltic birch plywood, and I'm using these metal drawer slide systems. So these metal drawer slides have a little fixing clip that goes into the back of the drawer face and click into there. So not only do I have to get the drawers fronts made, but I also have to accurately locate these fixings on the back of the drawer. They get a 10mm hole and they kind of knock in. So as I was thinking about how to do this, I thought, well, I could measure and cut all these drawer fronts. I could batch them out on the table saw, something like that. But I'm going to have to take, you know, stuff off the sides and in between them. I got to figure out all that spacing, and then I got to add it back so I can figure out where my pieces go. And so I thought there's got to be a better way to do this. And so what I came up with, and I'm sure it's nothing new, is I'm going to cut them all out of one piece of wood. I have a 2.2mm kerf blade for my track saw, and I figured out that 2.2 millimeters is perfect for my spacing between my drawers. So that's what it's going to be. So I'm going to make these full size. I'm not going to worry about making my reveal on the left and the right and the top and the bottom. I'm not going to worry about that. I'm going to make this full size, mark out my drawer fronts, turn it over, mark my lines, and measure up for all of my drawer hardware fixing points, and then I can cut them all apart. So I've started on that process here. I've got a nice looking piece here. There's no defects in it. And I've got, out of camera you can't see, I've got 2 more cabinet boxes, but they're just, they're like a sink box. So there's 2 doors and then there's another one with a single door. But right here we've got 1, 2, 3 boxes full of drawers. These are going to be the hard ones. It's the hardest one in the whole project, to be honest. So this is going to be made out of 1 piece of wood, and then these 2, this one and that smaller box, are going to be made out of another piece of wood. So to get my kick spacing right, I've cut myself some spacers to go underneath. If this looks odd to you as far as a kick box spacing, it is, because this is the wheel well of the tiny house. So we covered the wheel well of the tiny house with some EPS foam, XPS foam. And so this is a lot higher than you would normally see in a kitchen cabinet. So that's why we've got this amount of space here. So I've got tape applied on my sides, and I've trimmed this. This should be the perfect width. So let's get this up in there. All right, so I'm going to try to see if this is correct by putting this in there as a spacer, and that's pretty good, and that's pretty good. I'm going to use some tape just to hold this on there. Okay. So my primary goal at this stage is to get the door the exact size. Don't worry about your reveal over here. Push it tight to the wall. In fact, I've already scribed it to the wall. Over here, the goal is to get it right at that parting line between the cabinets. You're correct, that's not going to be enough room to pass drawers, but we'll cut that in later. So it's good on the top. The top also is going to need to get a kerf width across there. Don't worry about it. We want to be able to measure straight up from the bottom here and hit all of our hardware. In fact, we'll make a story stick for that because we've got 3 sets of drawers to do. So I have on this piece of tape here, I've marked up my drawer parting lines, and then that's what I've used to make my hardware. When I do a drawer like this, I don't worry about the size of the drawer box. I don't worry about the hardware location so much. I come up with the drawer parting lines first. So the bottom one, the parting line is the bottom. Here's our drawer parting line between 1 and 2, 2 and 3, 3 and 4. And then to locate my hardware, I've gone up 1/2 of the thickness of my 3/4 inch 18 millimeter wood. So that provides enough room when the drawer is mounted to cover the bottom of the drawer, to cover the hardware so that when you pull that out, it's covered. But that gives you the most amount of useful space in your drawer. So marked my drawer parting lines, then I took my square and I used that to mark my drawer parting lines on the front here. Then I put some tape across here just so that I can draw on it and not worry about it. And I marked in my drawer parting lines over here as well. So I'm not even going to cut these yet. I'm going to get the next piece of wood for this, and we're going to get that one laid out. And then once that one's laid out and we've got everything looking how we want, then we'll take it back to the track saw and we'll do our layout for our hardware on the back, and then we'll cut it all apart and the grains will match and be perfect. I've got this blocked up in here now, and I got the top edge looking pretty good. And I've just kind of taped it on there so that it doesn't fall off. What you can't see behind here is the parting line between box 2 and 3 and between box 3 and 4. I've let this run long. No need to try to measure it. We're going to mark it right as it is. I can see the parting line across the top here, of course, because there's no countertop on it. So I'm going to put a piece of tape on here and hope I can get that on there square. And then I'll mark on the top here where that parting line is. Okay, I've got these tapes approximate on there, and I've marked at the top here where those parting lines are. Now I'm going to take this off. I am going to pull a measurement from here over to locate those, at least roughly. And I'm going to take this off and go ahead and take it in the shop. And then I'm going to make a story pole off of this so that we can transfer our marks over to here, get our tape on there for the drawer parting lines. Okay, after I marked this up, I took it in the shop and I put on where my drawers are going to go. I haven't struck the line on them yet. We'll get to that. And I marked my center line here. That will be the line that will cut the door banks apart. And over here, I cut this off. Remember, this was a little bit long here. I had it marked at the top. I went past it about 5 millimeters and cut it off. And so now, because I couldn't really accurately mark it, because I didn't have access to this face because it was too far. So, got a good sharp pencil. Trivia question. What is the correct number of clamps that a woodworker should own? Answer in the comments. Okay, that looks a little better. So I hadn't marked this for the final cut because I didn't have access to this space. So now that I've rough cut it, I have access to this space. What that allows me to do is put something against there and use that to mark this. Anything flat will really do there. Okay, this is the exact thickness of this. So when I put that across there, that is an accurate line. And it's more accurate than measuring. The only thing, most accurate thing is the thing itself. If you can hold it. Alright, that's a good confirmation because my cut line was up there to begin with. So, what I have marked is the parting line between my 2 3/4 thicknesses here. So that is the actual parting line, drawer face to door over here. It's too tight. We couldn't pass that if we made the drawers that big. But that is what we are going to cut it at initially. And I'm going to continue on with this. I'm going to prep all the rest of these and get them all up here like this before I do any cutting apart. That way I can get the bottoms good, I can get the tops good. They're tight up next to each other. I can trim them if I need to. So I'm going to go make the door pieces. That's going to be one piece of wood as well. So we've got a single for this 24-inch. We've got one for this and one for that over there. That's all one sheet of wood. And so I'm also going to make sure that that this grain then matches the next one as best as I can as far as the figuring. Alright, I'm back. I cut a piece for this. I made a little bit of an oopsie. Qualify it more as a mistake than an F-up. But what I did was I had marked this. I'd used my wood and marked where to cut this off over here. And then I left it in place and I measured for this piece. So this piece is a little bit smaller than I would have liked it to be. I should have taken this in, cut it, put it back in, measured for this. So what I've had to do is cheat it right in the middle, and I won't end up cutting quite as much off of this and this to get my line. So I've essentially got my line up there. I'll need to cut it in down here, and kind of same over there. So not quite an F-up, more of a mistake. The difference between a mistake and an F-up is you can fix a mistake. This will be fine. I'll just have to keep my mind clear on what I'm doing on this one. So got my drawer parting lines in here. I'm going to go ahead. I got my sharp pencil. I'm going to mark in my where my drawers are gonna, or excuse me, my 2 doors are gonna get cut in here. I'll mark in where this one is going to be. This is actually a trash pull-out drawer. And I'm also going to go through with my little shim here. This is a piece of sheet metal. It's about 2.5 millimeters, which is pretty good for what I want in between the doors. And I'm going to go ahead and mark on here where I want that to be. Now normally I'd be taking some off of this side and this side, but since I've already got my spacing up here, we're just going to end up taking it off of this here. I think that this opening here is a little bit cattywampus. Excuse me. You know, when you get a longer layout like this, you know, the cabinets may not actually be dead nuts straight. The doors will be once we're done. But so I'm going to go ahead and put this down here and mark for it. So I know that when I cut this, I'm going to go from there to nothing. So I'm going to put that and say nothing. Then I'm also going to come back over to this transition here, and I'm going to put this up there. I'll mark it on both sides so that so I'll cut evenly off of these. But essentially, really what this is it's going to be a half a saw kerf on either side. Since my saw kerf is 2.2, it's essentially going to be half that on either side. And down here there's a little bit of space, so I get to kind of pick where that is. The beauty of this is you could be off quite a bit, but since you're fitting them all together as a group, even if you were off a little bit on one, you're making up for it on the other. I have already scribed it to the wall, so that part is done. Okay, so that should be good there. We're also going to do that for here because we're going to cut across the top as well. And the important thing here is that we're going to make it even across all of them. Luckily, my drawers also have quite a bit of adjustability in them. The drawer fixings have plus or minus, I think, 3 millimeters. So that's +3 and -3. And then you can also scooch them left and right. Okay. That's a little fatter down there than I want, but that's what we got left, and we'll end up scooching it over. We can scooch it over later. Okay. All right, so I got my center line there and there. Now I just need to figure out between my two doors. 364. Okay. Pretty good. Okay, so now I've got my parting line in here. I've got all of my clearance lines established. Only thing I got to do still is go on the inside and mark the inside of the cabinet so that I know where to put my door hardware. Built myself a little hinge fixture. This is for the hinge base plates, and so I've already drilled those in the cabinet. So while I can't use these to drill the cup holes, I can use it to place my center line, because when I put this in the cabinet, I just slid it down and referenced on the bottom or the top. So now that I've struck a line for the bottom and the top, I can use this to mark a center line for my cup drilling fixture. Okay, we're ready to take everything apart, take it into the shop, lay out our hardware on the back, and then cut everything apart.
Okay, all of the drawers marked, flipped them on their back, marked out the hardware, center punched for the hardware. We're going to drill that in later because it'll make it easier to finish. Sanded the backs, might as well while they're all one piece. Get them sanded, sanded off all the pencil lines on the back. So now I've got to size these. This goes along the wall, that gets a kerf cut, this gets a cut, this one doesn't. Some various cuts on the outside. I'm going to do all those outside cuts, and then we're going to set up the track saw to cut the drawers apart. And then we'll cut the drawers from each other over there. At this point, all your drawers match, they're beautiful. All the grains are gonna match because it's one sheet of wood. Don't screw up. There is no turning back. If you screw one of these up, they're all screwed up. No pressure. That's nothing.
Okay, all the panels are trimmed for the outside size. Now we've got to cut the drawers apart. Number one, top important thing here you got to remember, we are cutting down the center of the line. Now the track saw is set up to cut to the inside edge of the blade. So we've got to take that into consideration, and some of that is eyeball. The blade kerf is 2.2 millimeters, so we've got to go 1.1 millimeter to the left of the line. And it's just going to be by eye, really. And so that's one reason why I want to gang cut as much as we can. This is a separate piece of wood from these two, but I've got them set up together. The parting lines match. I'm going to set my tracks up, take as much time as I need, and then I'm going to cut these all apart at once. That way, even if we get off a little bit, the parting lines will match between drawers, and that's what your eye will catch. I want some clamps on that. Don't you think? All right, I think that's about the reveal I want. Got a clamp on it down here. I got this kind of holding that down. All right, so if you can just kind of manage the hose once I get up in there. Just make sure it jumps over that.
On this side of you?
What's that?
On this side of you?
Yeah. This one's kind of in there, so. Here we go. All right. Success. I think. Come on, no, that's how we put them in, but. I'm just eyeballing this because, I mean, what are you going to do? Mm-hmm.
Gonna slot in?
Yeah. I think I like it. I saw, good sir. Thank you.
Why this doesn't get rollers?
Well, I put that case on the top so you at least got a handle.
Yeah.
Well, that's the beauty of this too, is because I got all that hardware cut in already, it doesn't matter if this is off. I could cut this at a diagonal and it really wouldn't matter.
Yeah.
Thank you. I like being able to clamp it right there in the middle a little bit.
Look good going across this. This is wider gap than that.
I know, but it's,
That's the way it is.
they don't exactly line up. And this right here, if that's what you mean, they're not perfectly square on the ends.
Oh.
Make a 102-inch version of that, which I'd really like to have. Stuff like this, they just don't go together real, give you real warm fuzzy feelings. Okay, everything is cut except for these sets of drawers apart from each other. So that everything is the same, I'm going to gang cut these as well. I'm going to pull these down tight against each other, make sure everything's lined up on the edges. We're going to do one cut. I think your finger can probably discern 1/1000th of an inch probably. You know, as far as doing that. can you hug these for me, Dad? Maybe on this side over here. I'll get this set up, and that looks pretty reasonable there. Because I can pull this like that, so. Okay, there it is. Perfect drawer fronts. Now I can finish them, and after I'm done finishing, I can find these pinpricks again with my Forstner bit and cut in for the fixings. I've also put a number, a drawer number, underneath where that fixing's gonna go, just because we're gonna be throwing these things all over the place when we're doing the finishing and whatnot. That way I'll be able to keep track of them without having to put them back together like a puzzle and figure out where the grain goes. I've put all my drawer fronts through the finishing steps, and so this is ready to go on. This is fully finished. I've milled in for my handle, and if you recall, I had punched in where my drawer fixings were going to go, and actually marked the drawer number here. As you're running it through the finishing steps, sometimes those wood fibers will start to come back and flatten out, so I usually take my carbide scribe and I just kind of poke back in those and get any of the clear coat out of the holes, and get myself ready for drilling. Now I've got this set up here just so that we're not touching the dirty dirty bed. This is how much of a woodworker I am not. I'm doing this in my vertical mill. So I've got a 10mm Forstner bit, and I've set my mill for depth stop. So I think on this it says we're going 13mm deep. Makes really nice holes. So now it's time to put the fixings in there. Make sure there's no sawdust in there. I'm sure you could do this with a press, but I put them in there with just a pin punch. At the beginning, I thought these were an expansion type. I thought you loosened the screws, pushed them in there, and then they expanded when you tighten the screw. But that's not true. They've just got some kind of backwards facing plastic teeth, and you just press them in there. You could press them in there with an arbor press as well, but this is what I got. The important thing is to make sure they're flush with the bottom. You'll hear the sound change. That's ready to go. Put the handle on, and let's go install some in the cabinets. Okay, so I've made all my drawer fronts. I've got them all put together. I've got the fixing clips in all the drawer fronts. All the handles are on. We're ready to start snapping them in place. This fixing clip, the ones that we pressed in, it fits into the edge of the drawer slide right here. It goes right in there and pops in. There's a screw right here that then will adjust, oops, wrong screw. Screw right here that will adjust it up and down. I think it's plus and minus 3 millimeters. I usually set those kind of for the center to begin with. And then there's also a screw here which kicks it back out. Side to side is adjusted with this screw here. So it's just kind of a grub screw that goes in one side out the other. And really all it does is it presses against this, this rail in here to slide the drawer front left and right. You kind of got to adjust both at the same time for that. So let's get ready to put some drawers on. I have got some of these little felt pads. These really help with getting them all to close evenly. These are deep drawers, so they have the taller back drawer back to them. That has a clip system in it for a gallery rail. We've pre-installed the fixings for the gallery rail. Okay, here we go. Just like that. You can tell I probably need a little more space over here. I may have to move the whole thing over, but let's try the next one. That looks pretty good, really. This one can come over, but time to get all the drawers fitted and adjusted.
Well, this is the finished result. You could see a slight color difference, this panel to that panel there. But this is one piece of wood for these 3 doors, and it's one piece of wood for those sets of doors. And I did all of these the same way, where I cut them from one sheet. So this was one piece of wood, got it all, the exterior all how I wanted, and then I cut them apart. This drawer system really is great. You end up with a thinner front because you don't have to have the double piece there, and they give you the little bumpers and soft close, adjustable. I was able to keep that 2 millimeter gap or so there, nice and tight, even with the wall there. And over here, of course, I had to build this one. This doesn't use that same drawer system. So here it's more conventional. I've just got 2 kind of large slides, and then made the box and applied the front with a screw. So this one not as easy to adjust. So I kind of adjusted the others around it. But it's really turned out nice. Here, of course, we've got the false on both sides. We've got the false height. So it gives the illusion of having the normal kick height, but we're over the top of the fender. So that's one of the extra talls where they give you the set of things there, and then that's actually adjustable. You can take this off and adjust that to get the rods the right length. So that's the finished result. You're seeing this now about a year after we built it. So it's really done pretty nicely. We've got the tiny house down someplace where we've got some more interesting scenery out the windows. It's not just out my back door. And it really has worked out nicely with the Wurth hardware. So that's it. Hope that explains a little bit about this Wurth drawer system, and how you lay that out and make the fronts and install.